All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. We've got quite a significant situation developing today.
Yeah.
President Trump has ordered U.S. airstrikes, and they're targeting the Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen.
Oh, wow.
And we're really relying on, this is breaking news. The Associated Press is our main source here. Their reporting is coming straight from Saturday, March 15th, 2025.
Okay.
So really fresh. And, what we really want to do today is look at this AP account and try to pull out the main things that are happening. Really understand why these strikes happen and what's happening immediately afterward.
Right.
So these strikes, the AP is saying they happened on Saturday, and we've got this report that was updated same day. So we're talking real time, as this stuff is happening.
Wow.
And right off the bat, what's striking is Trump saying this is to stop the Houthis from attacking, and he calls it a crucial maritime corridor. He's even saying, and this is a quote, overwhelming lethal force until those attacks end. It's pretty strong language right out of the gate.
Yeah, it is. And right after the strikes, we see the AP is already reporting casualties and citing sources within the Houthis, saying at least 31 people have died and over 100 are injured.
Wow.
Now, this information is coming from the Houthi-run health ministry, but still, it really highlights the serious and immediate impact of this military action.
Absolutely, yeah. No, that's a really important point. So let's kind of dig into how this all began, starting with how Trump announced this.
Sure.
The AP is telling us he went on social media, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that say about how things are being communicated now in these situations?
It's fascinating, right? The immediacy of it all, the directness. Social media lets him completely bypass the traditional news channels.
Right.
The president can shape the narrative himself, speak directly to the public in real time. And the way he worded it, it's in the AP article, also very telling. He said, quote, "Our brave warfighters are right now carrying out aerial attacks on the terrorists' bases, leaders, and missile defenses to protect American shipping, air, and naval assets, and to restore navigational freedom." That lays out his whole justification. Protecting American interests, making sure things can move freely again in that vital waterway.
Yeah, and it's not just about the strikes themselves, though, right?
Yeah.
The AP mentions him directly warning Iran.
Yes.
What was he saying there?
Well, if we zoom out a bit, you see this warning to Iran is really significant. He's telling them to stop backing the Houthis, promising to hold them, quote, fully accountable. So this isn't just about Yemen anymore. This is pulling in a major regional power.
Right.
And the AP reminds us, remember, Trump's been talking to Iranian leaders about possible nuclear talks.
Yeah.
This military action, the strong talk, it suggests he's got a whole strategy for dealing with Iran. Maybe diplomacy, but definitely strong deterrence when it comes to their proxies in the region and those nuclear ambitions.
Yeah. So let's get into the actual airstrikes now. Based on the AP, where did they hit and when?
Initial reports from the Houthis, as relayed by the AP, pointed to explosions in Sana'a, that's the Yemeni capital,
Right.
and also Sada, their stronghold, up near the Saudi Arabian border. This was Saturday evening.
Okay.
But interestingly, the AP also mentions more airstrikes in the same areas early Sunday morning.
Really?
It's not just a one-off, it suggests an ongoing operation.
A sustained effort.
Exactly.
Now, the AP also mentioned some visual details, stuff coming out of these strikes. They mentioned pictures online showing black smoke over the Sana'a airport complex.
Yeah.
Which, considering there's a military facility there, paints a pretty vivid picture.
Absolutely. It gives us a real sense of the scale, the potential targets.
Yeah.
And beyond the capital, the AP reports the Houthis also claimed there were strikes early Sunday in Hodeidah, Beida, and Marib too.
Wow. So across a pretty wide area.
This isn't just hitting their main centers. It seems like they're trying to weaken the Houthis across the whole territory they control.
Right.
It's pretty widespread.
And it doesn't sound like this is just going to be a one-time thing either. The AP quotes a U.S. official. What do they say about what's next?
What really jumps out is the official saying Saturday was just the beginning. They're going to keep hitting Houthi targets. Sounds like a sustained campaign aimed at fulfilling Trump's promise to stop the attacks on shipping.
Right.
It's a clear goal.
We should probably consider this in light of what the U.S. has done in the region before, right?
Right.
Yeah. The AP compares it to what the previous administration did. How was Biden's response different?
Yeah, the AP makes a clear distinction. This Saturday strike, it was all the U.S. First time they've gone after the Houthis since Trump started his second term.
Right.
Biden's approach is different. He did multiple missile strikes, broader in scope, and often working with allies.
Right. Yeah, more of a coalition effort.
Exactly. So this unilateral move by Trump could mean a change in strategy or maybe how they're working with other countries.
Interesting. And the military assets involved. Man, it's serious stuff. The AP talks about the USS Harry S. Truman Carrier Strike Group.
Oh, wow.
Destroyers, a cruiser. And they even mentioned the USS Georgia. That's a cruise missile submarine.
Yeah.
All operating in the Red Sea.
That's a lot of firepower.
No kidding. So what does it usually mean when they deploy assets like that?
If we zoom out and look at the big picture, deploying a carrier strike group plus a submarine with cruise missiles, that's a serious show of force by the U.S. in that region. That carrier group, that means major air power, command and control, total dominance at sea.
Yeah.
Then you add the submarine, that stealth, long-range precision strikes. It all points to the U.S. wanting to flex its muscles, make sure those Houthi attacks stop.
And the AP throws in this kind of wild detail. They say Trump announced these strikes while he was at his golf club in Florida. It's a reminder that these huge global decisions, they can happen anywhere in our super connected world.
It's true. And his statement, like the AP reported, he talks about the economic damage those Houthi attacks cause, the risk to innocent lives.
Yeah.
That's how he's justifying this, saying it's not just about ships, it's about the bigger consequences of what the Houthis are doing.
Okay, so let's look at how the Houthis themselves are reacting. Going back to the AP's reporting, they definitely seem to acknowledge the impact of these strikes.
Yeah, the AP says the Houthi Health Ministry is reporting the death toll rising. It hit 31 by early Sunday.
Oh, wow.
Including women and children, over 100 wounded. That's a lot of people, a real human cost.
Absolutely. And have they said anything about whether these strikes will change their approach?
It's fascinating. They sound completely defiant. The AP quotes Nasruddin Amer, he's the deputy head of the Houthi media office.
Yep.
He flat out said, and I quote, "These airstrikes will not deter us." He even said they're going to hit back at the U.S., and they're still standing with Gaza. So it doesn't look like they're backing down. If anything, maybe this will make things worse.
And another Houthi spokesperson, Mohammed Abdul Salam, used social media, according to the AP, to call Trump's claims about threats to international shipping false and misleading.
Right. They're completely rejecting the reasons the U.S. gave for these strikes.
Yeah. Now, the AP does remind us that the Houthis had said they were going to start hitting Israeli ships again off the coast of Yemen,
Right.
blaming it on what Israel is doing in Gaza.
Yeah.
They even said where they'd operate: the Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, Bab el-Mandeb Strait, even the Arabian Sea. Big area.
Huge area. Yeah.
But what's interesting, the AP doesn't say there were any actual attacks between that announcement and these U.S. strikes.
Right.
So maybe the U.S. was acting preemptively based on what the Houthis said they'd do and what they've done in the past.
Yeah, that's an important point. They said they would attack, but the trigger for the U.S. seems to be that threat plus what they know the Houthis are capable of. Right. The AP reminds us they hit over 100 merchant ships between late 2023, when the Israel-Hamas war started, and the ceasefire in January.
Yeah.
They even sank 2 ships, killed sailors. That history definitely plays a role in how seriously they're taking this threat.
No doubt. And it feels like those attacks really put the Houthis on the map globally.
Absolutely. The AP points out that all this attention they got, it happened while they're in the middle of fighting in Yemen itself and dealing with their own political problems.
Yeah. By
tying themselves to the bigger Arab-Israeli conflict, especially what's happening in Gaza, they made themselves major players in the region.
Interesting. And the AP does give us some details on exactly what those U.S. strikes hit, based on what people on the ground are saying.
Yeah, the Houthi media office told the AP that a residential neighborhood in Sana'a got hit in the Shoab district.
Oh, wow.
And there are residents saying there were at least 4 big airstrikes in the eastern Jarrah neighborhood. That's a really densely populated area, and it's where they supposedly have military facilities and a political HQ.
Man, the AP quotes one resident, Abdallah Al-Alfi, and he says the explosions were like an earthquake.
It's a powerful image, right? You can imagine the intensity, the fear those people must have felt.
Absolutely. And the AP also says the Houthis reported more strikes late Saturday in the Damar province in the southwest, hitting areas outside the capital city and the district of Avs.
It seems like this is part of a larger operation targeting multiple locations.
Right. Now, let's take a step back, look at the bigger picture here. The AP keeps calling the Houthis Iran-backed rebels.
Right.
What does that really mean?
It's crucial to understanding the whole situation. Saying they're Iran-backed implies financial support, training, weapons, even shared ideology. This connection to Iran adds a whole other layer to the conflict, ties it to the bigger power struggles in the Middle East.
And the AP also mentions Yemen's decade-long war that's been in a stalemate.
Yeah.
Which just shows how deeply unstable the country is. It's the backdrop for all of this.
Absolutely. It's a long-running conflict.
And the Houthis themselves have been connecting their actions to what's happening in Gaza, haven't they?
Yeah, that's been a key part of their messaging. The AP's reporting is clear that those attacks on shipping are linked to the situation in Gaza, especially Israel's stopping aid and those warnings to Hamas.
Right.
The Houthis are framing their moves in the Red Sea as support for the Palestinians and a response to what Israel's doing.
And it's not like this is the first time Houthi areas have been hit, right?
We're right. There's a whole history of military interventions in Yemen involving the U.S., Israel, Britain. But the AP stresses this specific operation on Saturday. That was all the U.S., different from those past coalition efforts.
Right, yeah. So putting it all together from this AP report, President Trump orders U.S. airstrikes against the Houthis in Yemen, saying it's because they're attacking ships.
Right.
The Houthis are reporting a lot of casualties. They're saying they're going to hit back. And the U.S. is indicating these strikes will probably continue.
That sums it up well. Fast military action, a real human cost based on what the Houthis are saying, and all signs pointing to more conflict in a region that's already incredibly unstable.
It really is. So, I mean, considering how long conflict has been going on in the region and how connected all this is to what's happening in Gaza, what could this new U.S. military action in Yemen mean for the whole Middle East? Will it make things more stable or less? And what about the bigger picture internationally? It's something to really think about. It goes way beyond just this initial report.
Absolutely.
That's something for everyone to consider as we wrap up our deep dive today.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time.
Yeah, see you then.